I had everything going on, osteoporosis and just getting weaker. I knew that my health was every year deteriorating. I never relaxed, ever, that I spent of my life.
Wow.
Trying to find treatments. And I couldn't even get a job. Walking was painful. Everything was painful. I was resigned to the fact that I would die an early death from this eating disorder. It was a lot of suffering, a lot of misery, a lot of fighting, just trying to get through. My chances of getting better are really almost none. I eventually gave up in the hope of getting better. My anxiety was through the roof. I couldn't control myself. I felt like I was to the point where I wasn't going to make it and I would die.
Welcome, Catherine. How are you?
Hello. Thank you so much. I am really honored to be here. I really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
Well, we all love you here, and we would all love for you to tell your story. Tell us a little bit about how you stumbled across the carnivore diet.
I started carnivore diet about 2 years ago, but before that, I had lived my entire adult life with eating disorders. So for about 40 years, I have endured anorexia and bulimia, and I developed both eating disorders at about age 17.
Wow.
So for nearly 40 years, I was fighting those eating disorders, and I was really fighting. I was trying to get better. I entered treatment centers multiple times, and this is inpatient for up to 3 months at a time. I did inpatient therapy, outpatient therapy, 12-step programs. I mean, I really did everything to beat these eating disorders, and nothing worked. It was really, really brutal. I can't say that my whole adult life was, well, I can say it was hard. It was a lot of suffering, a lot of misery, a lot of fighting, just trying to get through, trying to find the treatment that worked, and nothing worked. And as a matter of fact, every time I went into a treatment center, it was totally voluntary. I wanted to get better, and I would always leave sicker than when I went in. I mean, it's hard to believe, but so it was a lot to do with the diet. They put you on 6 meals a day, high carbs. And because I was underweight, they tried to get me to gain weight. So snacks were cakes and ice cream and
Wow.
cookies.
Wow.
I had to do that. And so I did end up gaining some weight, of course, eating that way. But by the time I left, my mind was just crazy. I felt crazy. I just felt like I have to diet. I have to get this weight off. I have to binge and purge. My anxiety was through the roof. I couldn't control myself. And I so wanted to get better. I entered treatment center after treatment center, spending years of so much of my life in therapy too, inpatient, outpatient. And this went on, and it was for more than 20 years that I spent of my life
Wow.
trying to find treatments. And I couldn't even get a job. You can't start a career and be in a treatment center or be in treatment. So I had to put off my whole career. I didn't start my career for another 20 years. And so after 20 years of trying and trying, I finally came to the point of basically saying, you know what? I know my chances of getting better keep going down, down, down every year. And so my chances of getting better are really almost none. And how many times have I tried every treatment out there? And I eventually gave up in the hope of getting better because I needed to start my life and stop just spending my life in treatment. So I did that. I stopped therapy. I stopped treatment. I started my dental career. And that was actually a little bit of an improvement in my life because I was living a life then. But of course, my eating disorder was still bad. And when I say it was bad, I mean, I was highly restricting my eating. But then, of course, I was overwhelmed with hunger. So by the end of the day, all I looked forward to was binging and purging. So I would do that 5, 6 times in the evening, spend hours and hours. So that's where all my free time, all my money, all my efforts went. And this went on for a long time. And I became resigned to the fact that I would never get over my eating disorder. I would just try to live with it the best I could. I knew that my health was every year deteriorating. I had everything going on, osteoporosis and just getting weaker, no energy. But, I was resigned to the fact that I would die an early death from this eating disorder. But I was determined just to live as much as I could because I still wanted to live. And then eventually, about 3 years ago, I developed severe gut issues. And I was mostly a vegetarian at that time. And it got to the point, it was so bad, I could barely eat anything. And I was no longer dieting for my anorexia. It was just, I couldn't eat. And I was losing more and more weight. It got so bad that I could barely eat. Walking was painful. Everything was painful. I was still working at that time, but it became so hard. I would work all day, come home and just collapse. And that was it. And I, for the first time, became scared of my life. I felt like I was to the point where I wasn't going to make it and I would die. So I saw all these specialists. I consulted with experts, saw doctors to try to help me with my gut issues. And they just kept giving me medication to help with the pain or help with the diarrhea or whatever. But I said, this isn't it. I mean, I need to figure this out and heal my gut, just heal it. I can't live like this. I'm dying. Right. And they just kept giving me more medication. And so I said, I tried different kinds of diets. And then the last gastroenterologist, I even said, like, can you just give me an expert dietitian to change my diet? I'll do whatever it takes. And he said, oh, it's nothing to do with your diet. Just take more medication. And so that was the last straw. And I said, I can't live like this. I'm going to heal myself. So I started looking up just ways to heal your gut and YouTubing, and I came upon Bella's channel and Dr. Barry. And so I must have those were the main ones that I was watching. I think I watched like every single one of Steak and Butter Gang. Like I spent like 100 hours just YouTubing because it seemed like people were healing from it. And I thought, that's crazy. Yeah. I'm a vegetarian. Yeah. This is so crazy. And I'm the type of person, I have to research everything before I try. I have to know everything. Right. So I just researched. And it was like, these people are healing. It's working. But how do I can't do this. It's crazy. This is the craziest diet ever. Meat is so bad for you. It can't work. But every time I looked up, it was like, it's working. So, okay, I'm just going to try it. And I'm the type that it's all or nothing. I don't step in and try a little bit. I have to go full force. So I just picked like 2 days later, I was like, I'm going in, I'm going to do full carnivore. Within just a few days, I felt a difference in my gut, like just a few days, but I was able to eat. And I was able to like put down food, keep it down. And I was feeling so much better just within a few days. And so I kept on it. But I also knew that this was a difficult process and I needed support. And so I immediately like joined the Steak and Butter Gang. Yay. And followed your group. And it was more than that though. I thought, you know what? There are coaches there. Like, I'm going to sign up for coaches. So you hooked me up with a couple of coaches in the beginning. And so I started, and that was a good help too, because I needed that support. It was really the daily stuff too. That's why I vlogged there every single day. I entered, I posted my pictures. I went to every single meeting that I could fit into my schedule. A lot of times, 3 times a week, I was like going to meetings and talking and sharing. Even when I didn't want to, I was like, I have to keep on this because it's working. And then unbelievably, within just a few weeks, I felt like my eating disorders, like my binging and purging, it's like, I don't really want to. I was still in the beginning, binging and purging and everything. But just within a few short weeks, I didn't feel like I wanted to anymore. I was like, yesterday, it was gross when I tried it. I didn't enjoy it. And then and then it got to the point where like I was able to go a few days without binging and purging, which in the past was impossible. I was binging and purging every day. Yep. And the desire just kind of fell away. And then, so I talked to my coaches and I was like, I just need to do it on the weekends. That's it. I can do it on the weekdays. I can't do it on the weekends. So Coach Raymond was there. He was like, why don't you just fast over the weekend? I said, but I have an eating disorder. I'm not allowed to fast. They all told me I can't fast. What are you guys talking about? And Coach Rose said, try it. And I did. And it got me through my first weekend ever of not being purging. And then after that, that was all I needed. And within a month, maybe a little over a month, my eating disorder, my binging and purging completely stopped. This is something for 40 years I was doing. It completely stopped. I didn't have to white knuckle it, and I've not for one time ever gone back to that. And I never have an urge to go back to it. It just,
Wow.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. This whole time you're saying your story, Catherine, I'm always thinking about the accusations and comments that I get as a 5-year carnivore saying that your diet is an eating disorder. You are introducing an eating disorder eating carnivore. It's just that these people know so little about how you feel as a carnivore. And I'm so glad you're even opening up the topic of healing from an eating disorder. Were you vegetarian before carnivore?
Mostly vegetarian. I ate a little bit of seafood, a little bit of chicken, and that was it.
Cool.
But I hadn't,
Interesting.
when I turned carnivore, I hadn't eaten meat in over 20 years.
Wow.
20 years with no meat, like not even like fish or chicken.
No, beef.
No, yeah,
I ate
beef,
a little bit
right.
of seafood and a little bit of chicken. That was all I ate. But beef,
Wow.
I hadn't. Pork, I still haven't had pork in at least 40 years, probably.
Oh, okay. So still not on bark. Wow.
Wow.
If you're looking for high-fat, delicious carnivore options, you could definitely try a simple stick of butter straight from the fridge or these awesome carnivore bars. I highly recommend them for carnivores, especially those who are always on the go. I munch on these all the time, especially when I'm feeling extra hungry before a meeting or when I'm traveling on a plane. These are so convenient to pack. It's literally just grass-fed, grass-finished beef and beef fat blended up into a delicious compact bar. It has a great crunchy and beefy flavor as well. If you're interested in checking out these carnivore bars, I'll make sure to link them down below in the description box alongside my discount code SBGAL.
What was the driver, Dr. Catherine, about your eating disorder at 17? What really, if you could think back, what was the catalyst?
Yeah, that's a hard one. That's when I started college. It had a lot to do with the stress. I had very low self-confidence, low self-esteem. And what started it was the craziest thing. I was always thin, but my friends, people put on weight their freshman year. So a lot of my friends had put on weight and they were dieting. And so I was just kind of like, oh, I'm going to diet too. And I don't know why. And I did it so well that I got a boost of this oh, wow, I'm dieting better than them. I'm losing weight, even though I was already thin. And it just, like they say some alcoholics, they drink their first drink and they get hooked. I dieted and I was just so hooked. I couldn't stop just from the start. Yeah. And it just went downhill from there.
Wow.
Dieting actually was causal in your eating disorder, and then you got hooked and addicted to the eating disorder.
What about the dieting was so addicting? Was it the competitiveness, how you felt like you were winning against your girlfriends, or was it that you were getting thinner?
No, it had nothing to do with the way I looked. Nothing. My anorexia, there's nothing to do with the way it looks. I will always hid my body, always wore loose, baggy clothes to hide how thin I was. And I hid it pretty well. At least I thought I did. It was all about, I felt so powerful, in control, like I was in charge. And because I think I felt my life was kind of out of control. I had low self-confidence. It was scary, hard being in college, being away from home. And I had very, very low self-esteem my whole life. I always felt very incompetent. And so this gave me a feeling like I can diet better than anyone. Look what they're eating. I can eat less than them. And I'm losing a lot. Yeah. It had nothing to do with how I looked or anything.
It's dangerous. The calorie restriction and what the dangers that can happen when we diet, can cause permanent damage. I wanted to ask about coming into carnivore. We sort of get this concept that we don't have to restrict anymore. That's what we're teaching when we teach priming, when we teach, going through this period of time where you just don't limit, you eat carnivore foods and you allow yourself to really embrace that period of time. Was that something that you toyed with or played with? I want to hear, how did that feel and how was that journey coming into carnivore and no longer restricting?
Oh my gosh, what that is when I heard about priming, right? I really listened to it and I thought, oh my gosh, that is the craziest thing. That's so scary. How can you just eat as much as you want? I've restricted almost my entire life. So, they said, it's basically 2 weeks people do it. You can prime and then just see what happens. And then I heard stories, well, Bella, she did for 6 months and you might have to do it. And then my coaches at that time, they told me, well, it might take a long time. You might have to prime for like 3 months, 6 months. And that really scared me. I was like, I can't eat as much as I want for that long. But then, I heard, just try it and just do it for a little while. You don't have to do it for that long. So I tried. And so I did. I started eating and it was the weirdest thing. I would eat and a big meal and an hour later I'd be like, I'm hungry again. My hunger was through the roof. And my body must have been so malnourished because I was eating a lot and I still have pictures of how much I was eating. I was eating a lot of food. And in the beginning, I was eating so much and I still couldn't gain a single pound at the beginning. My body was that malnourished. I mean, I was eating, thousands of calories, not gaining weight. So I kept on it. And after I did 2 weeks and it was like, I'm still so hungry. I still need to eat more. And so I was encouraged to continue. And so I did. I primed for, a few months. Yeah.
Wow.
And it was really scary. It was scary at first. But it also felt good. Like I knew my body was getting the nutrients it needed. And yeah, if anyone out there has questions about priming, it's just so healing. It really is. Getting the nourishment you need.
Priming on the carnivore diet is a 2 to 3 week long period of time where the person prioritizes eating 3 meals every day. It preps the body to really reap the full benefits and healing of intermittent fasting and extended fasting. Coach Raymond and Coach Emily have an entire 90-day priming, feasting, and fasting plan, tried and tested on thousands of carnivores now. One of the best benefits, of course, is fat loss and body recomposition, and we see it in our members of all ages. Both men and women see their bodies transform, lose fat, lose inflammation, and get stronger. This is our very own star member, Limitless Lindy, who has lost 500 pounds just by priming and basic intermittent fasting. If you are interested in accessing the full priming, feasting, and fasting protocol taught by Coach Raymond and Coach Emily, just go to the URL shown on the screen, sbgmeetup.com, or check out the links down below in the description box.
It was the first time I started having energy, feeling a little better. My concentration started to get better. I think it was a little bit slower for me, I think, in seeing the benefits. And it was a little frustrating because I hear of all these other people, oh, I've been on for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month. And it took me longer to really get benefits, I think, because I was so malnourished. So I had to be really patient and keep on it because I didn't really start to feel real benefits until it was probably at least 3 months before I started to feel better. I still was not feeling a lot of energy and everything until maybe 3 months. But after that, everything started picking up. And boy, the things that have turned over physically have been really amazing. Like I've been able to put on not just weight, but a lot of muscle. So I'm stronger than I've been. And yeah, and I remember when I had set a goal, like I'm going to hike Mount Washington, the highest mountain in the Northeast.
I remember
Like,
that.
and so I did. I accomplished that. That was a really big feat. Yeah,
Wow.
that's a major thing. And my hair has gotten, you can't tell here, but it's gotten a lot thicker and just it's really nice. My skin has gotten better. I think more than physical, though, is the emotional and mental benefits I've gotten from carnivore. Those have been just beyond the physical. Those have been incredible. It has turned my life around. I'm not the same person I was just a couple years ago. My anxiety, that's one thing. I was always anxious. Even as a child, I was very anxious, uptight. And I think it had to do with really, I think some people are just more carb sensitive. And I think I always was. And maybe if I was on a carnivore diet, when I was a youngster, I wouldn't have been so anxious my whole life. Like
Mhm.
always, like everything had to be perfect. And my parents even had to tell me, like, I think you should go out and play now. Like, no, but I have to get this perfect, this homework and whatever. So I never relaxed ever. And even as an adult, highly anxious, always. And it affected my relationships too a lot, because when you're highly anxious, and I couldn't control my emotions, and I would yell and scream sometimes, even to my working staff, it wasn't pleasant. But after Carnivore, for the first time in my life, I felt calmness for the first time ever. I never felt that sense of calm that I have on Carnivore. And I can stay calm. And even people shouting at me, yelling at me, screaming, whatever, I can still stay calm. I'm going through some major stresses in my life now, moving my practice and everything. And so many little blips to go through, but I'm able to really stay calm and control myself. It's helped my relationships. I don't have to yell at people. I can just sit back and listen and hear what they say. And it's really helped my relationship a lot, I think.
Wow.
So it's really, and the clarity, my focus, my concentration is better. And I never even knew how anxious of a person I was until the Carnivore, and it settled me down. And I was like, what? I've been living all my life like that, and I didn't have to. This is what normal people actually feel. That was really incredible.
Well, actually, not normal people. People who eat
yes.
carbs, they actually don't feel this.
Right.
It really is that there's so much truth to what you just said, Catherine. And this also applies to inflammation and pain. Nobody knows how good and pain-free they can feel until they cut out the junk. So I'm so glad you brought that up. So I'm going to do Rochelle and then Raymond, but first I have a question. Can you share how old you are? Or sorry, how young you are?
56 young, 56 young.
What?
Wow.
I can't believe that.
I've had people say that I haven't seen like since before Carnivore and after Carnivore. What happened? You look younger. What's going on?
56 years
56
young.
Yeah.
Mind
And
blown.
I feel younger. I feel better.
We can tell.
And you know what? I'm so busy with my life now, not just with work, but like with my social events and everything, because I feel like I have to catch up. All that time.
All the time.
It's
Those
okay,
decades you
though.
lost.
All that time that I lost being sick and spending so much time and energy with my eating disorder, every day being obsessed with what am I going to eat? What am I going to binge on? How am I going to get the food? And how much it's going to cost? And all that, and the time and energy. And now I'm just starting my life now. And so I have to catch up. But it's okay, because I'm going to live a healthy life and I have a lot of years ahead of me. So it's okay.
Absolutely. 100%.
And I just threw a huge party for myself a couple weekends ago, and it was to celebrate my life. Just to celebrate being in a new turn of my life, and it was a really incredible party. Yeah.
Round of applause to Catherine.
Congratulations on
That
doing
was
that.
too awesome.
That's amazing.
Thank
Really.
you.
We love
What an
that.
idea too. I love that.
Catherine, I wanted to just follow up with you. You mentioned that your relationships have improved since going carnivore. Like if, someone upsets you or if someone is upset at you, you're able to respond to them in a much more calm manner. Can you speak a little bit more about how your relationships have improved on carnivore?
Oh, yeah. So I did not have a lot of friends, first of all, growing up. I was very insecure and very shy. This is like they don't believe me when I say I used to be shy my whole life. They're like, "You're shy?" Because right now I'm no longer shy. I really, but now I do have a lot of friends, and for the first time in my life, I really have some good friends. And I think the biggest part of that is that when you have an eating disorder, your whole life you're living lies, deceit, shame, guilt. And when you live like that, you can't feel good about yourself. You can't have good relationships when you're lying about where you're going, what you're doing. And that's how I lived every day. And my excuse is, well, I can't go to that. Why? Because I knew I wanted to go home and binge and purge. And all those lies and shame and guilt, I did not have any good, deep relationships with people. But now that it's over, and I don't have to have that deceit in my life anymore. If anyone asks me a question about anything, I honestly answer anything. I don't care. You could ask me any question and I'll answer because I have no more lies and shame and guilt. I'm in a really good relationship with a partner now for the first time. That's a healthy relationship, like a healthy relationship. It's so great with a healthy person.
So you actually hid all of that life that you've been doing for 40 years of the binging purging from everyone in your life?
So the only people that really knew, my family knew, they knew I had an eating disorder, and because my weird habits when we ate and the fact I had to go into treatment centers, but it was the white elephant. We never talked about it ever. They didn't know. They had no idea how bad it was. They had no idea. And I always hid how I looked, always wore loose clothing. And I had, even in my face, I had so much inflammation. My face, when I was thinner, looked bigger because there was so much inflammation all over. And I carried it in my face. So I always looked really kind of good from my face. And then I wore baggy clothing. It was never shared with anyone. So it was a secret. So I lived a lie and it's hard living a life when you have to hide part of your life from everyone. And you just feel so like so much shame and guilt about the whole thing.
Like you're completely out of integrity at that point.
Yes.
Yeah. I totally relate to you. I mean, I didn't have it to the extreme that you did for the amount of time that you did, but I lived with a restrictive binge eating disorder and a volume eating disorder. And I mean, you do feel shame all the time. And like you constantly are hiding it from people. Like you don't want to answer the phone when they call because you're like, I don't want to have to lie to you and tell you that I'm at the store with $300 worth of whatever, or whatever the thing was. And I mean, it's just so freeing to know that now we've experienced what's called food freedom. And I'm curious if I can ask you, like, is that something that you experienced right away, or did it take you a little while to land on the food freedom side?
I did experience food freedom pretty quickly because I used to obsess about food all the time, like my whole waking time. Even if I was at work or studying or at school, I would always be thinking about what am I going to buy? How am I going to restrict? But then when you start priming and feeding your body, nourishing it, you don't have those cravings. And so I didn't have to think of that. I would just be like, okay, well, I know I'm having meat tomorrow and it's in my refrigerator, my freezer. So that's it. And yeah. And I was addicted to like the carbs, the sugars. I tried to stay away from a lot of sugary food, even when I was binging, I did, but I did rely a lot on sweeteners too, artificial sweeteners. And I thought that was okay, but I would go through like mounds and mounds and piles of like mints and anything that kept me with that sweet taste in my mouth. And that was hard to break. I didn't realize how addicted I was to that. But yeah, and that was a hard one. I thought, okay, I'm just going to allow myself to have 10 or 20 mints today. That's it. But like by the end, I'm still eating and eating. I couldn't stop. But I finally was able to break that. But once you break that, it's gone. Like, I don't need sweets anymore.
Was there anything specific in your carnivore journey that helped you get off the sweeteners?
Pretty much just had to throw everything away. And let me tell you, I had consumed so much. I had boxes and boxes of gum and candy and sweeteners and artificial sweeteners that I used up packets and packets of my coffee and tea every day. I threw it all out. And yeah, it was hard.
I love that because you cleaned up your environment. You made a choice for your environment to support you, your relationships to support you. And I want to get back to community because a lot of times people look at a carnivore diet as a weight loss diet. And I want to think about, and I want to hear about your experience in our community because you are a little unique. A lot of our members are wanting body composition. They're wanting fat loss. They're wanting to be smaller, stronger, those kinds of things. And was that an odd fit for you, or how did you feel in the community coming from a different perspective on carnivore, a different goal?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was unique and I knew that. And I knew most of the people were there for weight loss, but I didn't feel out of place because the community was so supportive of me. And I just wanted to be able to stay on carnivore because I felt like it was benefiting me.
Yes.
And I got that from the support from the community, like tips on what to do. And I came on, and a lot of times I came on into the meetings, I would be crying and I would get a lot of support from them. And I never felt like, oh, I'm out of place here. I always felt really supported. So
It's addiction. It's carbon sugar addiction. It's the need to give ourselves permission to eat as much as we want, as long as we want to heal. It's using these other healing modalities like fasting. Once your mind and body is healed, that we can incorporate these other hacks into our lives and these other things. So it's a very common ground of where we get there. And it's about optimization, life optimization. And I love that, the commonalities that we're all working for in our community.
I want to thank you for being so transparent, not just here
Yes.
today in this interview, but all of the meetings that you did take the time to attend in the Steak and Butter Gang and everything that you did decide to share with us. You're one of the big reasons that we now have such a loving and transparent community. You were part of cultivating that. And there were so many meetings that I showed up to see you, to hear from you. Because firstly, you're an Asian carnivore, and I always get
Yes.
excited. And also, your story was so powerful, so relatable to me personally, and I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy that you are where you are at today. And I am beyond thrilled that you have found someone that you can share your love with. Like, it's all so
Awesome.
exciting. Like, I'm shaking because I'm so happy for you. But I wanted to wrap up with a few carnivore questions because you're now how many years carnivore?
like about 2 years.
2 years. And could you just give a quick shout out to who your coaches are?
Oh my gosh, they're the best. Coach Emily and Coach Rochelle, they're the best coaches ever. I get so much support from them. I need them. But it's really, I think, important for anyone on carnivore because it's still kind of an odd diet to people in society. And to have support is important no matter where it is. And for me, my support are these two coaches who are the best. And I get what I need from them. And it's great.
I believe you. And I see Emily, Rochelle, you guys are getting emotional. Talk a little bit about how it's been working with this beautiful woman.
Go ahead, Emily. You start.
Well, I mean, I just think about where you have been and the decades you spent in restriction, perfectionism, kind of being hard on yourself, pushing yourself, and to see you vibrant. It's like you're pushing yourself for health. You're pushing yourself for bettering things. I'm just so emotional. I'm so sorry. But, Catherine, watching you shine brings me so much joy. And seeing you blossom and grow and inspire and achieve these amazing accomplishments and healing. It is every day inspires me.
Oh, thank you so much, Coach Emily. You don't know how much you've meant to me and how much support I've gotten from you.
I would say it has been just so foundational and so sorry, I'm getting emotional now too, because your story is so impactful and it is going to touch so many lives. And the fact that, Emily and I have had the blessing and the gift to be on this journey with you. I am just so humbled that I could even be here to support you at all, like being your cheerleader in the background, seeing you wanting to do your big hikes to Mount Washington, encouraging you in your fitness, reminding you that like carnivore is so helpful and so nutrient dense and it's just going to, bring healing to your body. And then seeing you transform, and all of the adversity that you have faced recently and just how calm and cool you have been through it all. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like most people would have fallen apart, but you were like, no, I'm staying the course. I'm very calm through this. I'm thinking logically through this. And, Emily and I are here for you. We want to do whatever we can to love on you and to support you and to encourage you, whatever that looks like. And I love hearing your updates. Every time I see your name come across my phone, there's like little hearts in my eyes. I'm like, oh, there's Catherine. I wonder how she's doing. So I just want to thank you for sharing your story and your life with us, because it's been such a blessing.
Thank you so much. And I can't leave out Coach Raymond to get me started and get me fasting, and through that to get rid of my bulimia. Like, that was incredible. And Bella, you most of all, like, for having the Steak and Butter Gang. I would not be here without that. I needed that support so desperately to guide me through the carnivore, and you were just there for me. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that.
Your radiance, your health is undeniable. I think anybody who watches this interview after I post it will just be like in awe of how far you have come. Now, couple last minute rapid fire questions for women your age, okay? Around your age category. What are your best tips, your best advice that you can give them if their goal is to also just be as healthy and radiant as you? What's your best tips?
Stay carnivore, but also I do other things besides just carnivore. I really focus hard on my mental health. Like, I do a lot of meditation, and I was trying to do saunas for a while, but now I really focus on my mental, taking breaks, deep breathing. I think that's a really important part of it too, to balance out both the physical and the mental.
I love that. Beginner tips for carnivore. Let's say they have not yet started the carnivore diet. What would you advise that they focus on or do to start?
Get support. Join a support group. If it's not the Steak and Butter Gang, which I highly recommend, get support somewhere, because it's not an easy journey. It is difficult, but with support, you can do it. And, everyone's going to have their own path. So I can't say whether to go all in or start slowly. But I think support is just really, really, really fundamental.
Speaking of being new to carnivore, what could be essential to a lot of new carnivores, including those transitioning from a keto diet, is leaning on a high-quality electrolyte supplement. This is the one that I recommend from the brand Element, and specifically this teal-colored box labeled raw unflavored. This one has no stevia, no sugar, nothing but the 3 electrolytes our bodies need. Here's what the packets look like. You just simply rip one open, pour it in whatever beverage you're drinking, mix it up, drink it down, and you are good to go. You all can get a free sample pack with any purchase like this, and it does include the raw unflavored by going to the URL shown on the screen, drinklmnt.com/SBGAL. I've also linked them down below.
Well, first of all, Dr. Catherine, awesome. I love your story, and I think it will reach out to a lot of people. But one of my biggest questions is, you said it was transformative, not just your body, but spiritual a little bit. I would like you to enlighten just a tiny bit what you mean by that.
Well, I think the biggest way it affected me was as I mentioned, when I got rid of my eating disorder, that the lies and deceit and guilt and shame went away. And so now I'm for the first time living a life of freedom. I'm really living my life, and I don't have that baggage now that I have to carry every day. And it's just made me feel like a better person. When you don't have to live with that kind of deceit every day. And it's built up my self-confidence. And now getting through all the things that I've gotten through with the help of Carnivore has just boosted my self-confidence and everything. And I'm going to live even a better life now. I have a lot of years ahead of me.
I would just say, what keeps you motivated to stay carnivore? I think you've touched all around it, but just a few things that come to mind.
For me, it's so easy now. I don't have cravings for other things, but if there were choices, do I eat that, or do I live a really healthy, happy life? For me, the motivation is there. I want my life. I want to live a happy life. And so I've never fallen off of carnivore, and maybe it's because I have so much more to lose than other people. I don't know. But for me, it's easy to stay motivated because I've turned my life around, and I want to keep this life.
I wanted to ask you, Catherine, in social settings, what do you recommend for people in social situations with carnivore?
So I know that's tough for a lot of people. I have come to a really good place with my social situations, and I go out to restaurants often with friends. I can't eat restaurant food at this point. I have a lot of sensitivities, but I found that it's all really how people react to my comfort level. So if I go out, and my friends all know now, they know I'm carnivore. They don't know the ins and outs of my eating disorder, but they know I'm carnivore. I can't eat the food in a restaurant. So I go out and they know I'm not eating, and I'm very comfortable. I sit there, I talk with them, I engage with them. And I think when they see my comfort level, they're comfortable too. And so I am very comfortable going out and going to a place and not eating. And so I make sure I eat ahead of time so that I, feel nourished when I go out. But I think a lot of it is what they're feeding off of us, right? And so you have to find your own comfort level, and people, find you too.
You are obviously comfortable in your skin, looking amazing, thriving, and that does a lot to every area of your life.
Yes. Catherine, I want to thank you again. Where can people find you? How can they connect with you? And also, if there's anything that you want to promote, feel free to.
Okay, so I don't have any social media.
Gotcha.
I'm not really anywhere. I'm just starting out on this journey. I would, in my future, like to promote the carnivore diet for eating disorders. So I'm just starting on that journey.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Like
so
a
that's-
YouTube channel, Instagram?
I don't know, just starting.
Okay.
So I'm just starting. I have another interview with Sean Baker coming up soon. And so just starting out. So we'll see. But
Beautiful.
just watch for me in the future.
Oh, I love it. I hope you are. Definitely. Thank you.
One more round of applause for Dr. Catherine. Yay.
Thank you all so much.
Love you.
Catherine. You're amazing.
Dr. Catherine, awesome.
If you also feel like you can benefit from the support and accountability of a carnivore community, I welcome you all to join the Steak and Butter Gang. You will have access to both Coach Raymond and Coach Emily in this video, and also be able to ask your questions to phenomenal carnivore doctors every single week. We also have amazing daily SPG open chat meetings where you can hang out with fellow carnivore members and get the support and camaraderie you need to stay on track. You will also have access to our full program, the Priming, Feasting, and Fasting program, taught by Coach Raymond Nazon and Coach Emily Harvo. For more details and to directly sign up for our next 30-day carnivore challenge, feel free to visit the URL shown on the screen, spgmeetup.com, or check out the links down below in the description box. Thank you all so much for watching the video. I will see you in the next one. SPG out.